Thanks so much for stopping by Apple's Art Studio, the Polymer Clay tutorial channel. On my channel, I try to show you everything I know about polymer clay and how to use it. So let's go and watch and see what I have in store for you today. When I thought about doing a series of polymer clay on glass, because I did a video on it years ago for Tiny Pandora Design Team, but I had so many glass containers sitting around and metal containers that I've been saving to do something with. I thought as long as I'm going to do something with them, I might as well record it. So I've been saving my jars. This is a spice jar. And this is an olive jar, and I just keep my empty, I guess it's recycle, upcycle, whatever we're doing here, but turning what some people would throw away into a beautiful little bottle. The next thing I knew I wanted to do was get rid of some old canes that I had. And I don't even know how many years ago I made these canes. It's been quite a while. I mean, maybe at least 5 or 6 years, because obviously I was playing with design and contrast in my collars and stuff more than I was anything else. This, I don't even remember making these. It's been so long. My next question was, how many slices of this cane is it going to take to cover 4 sides of this bottle? And this is how I did it. On the bottle, I measured the bottle with my little measuring tape, and it was 1.5 inches across and 3.25 inches top to bottom. Just right here to right here. Let me get that all in focus if I can. Okay, top to bottom. Here's the top and here's the bottom. So that was 3.25 inches, and side to side was 1.5 inches. So I took, for one side, 1.5 times 3.25 equals 4.875. That's not hard math. Just do it in your phone on the calculator. So that gave me one side. So I needed 4 sides. So I took 4.875, which was my total here, multiplied it by 4, because I've got 4 sides I want to cover, and I come up with 19.5 inches of cane that I need. Now when you sit and think about it, do you really think that it would take 19 inches of clay or 20 inches of clay to cover this bottle? Well, it does. So that's my bottle measurement. So this is my cane, and I measured it because I need to find out how many slices of this cane I need to cover all 4 sides of this bottle. So across my cane, from here to here, was 1.25 inches. And from top to bottom was 1.5 inches. So that was 1.875. So that was for one side. So I took my 1.875, multiplied it by 4, because I'm covering 4 sides, and I came up with 7.5 inches of cane that I need. And luckily I have a Lucy Clay, the large cane slicer, because I need 8 slices to cover this bottle with. So if I put 1 slice here this way, And I thought it'd look cool to turn it around and put the other slice here, and my matching design would be right here on this end. It's going to take 2 slices of this cane to cover one side of this bottle, so I need 8 slices to do that. So with my Lucy Clay slicer, I can cut them thin enough to get 8 nice full slices out of this little bit of cane that is, let's see how big it is. It is right at 3/4 of an inch. So yeah, I can get that out of that. So that's what I'll do. I took the original cane, and after I woke it up and warmed it up and got it moving at the same rate all the way through, and you'll be able to feel it. Start in the center and work out, and you'll be able to feel that clay moving. Gently pull on it. These canes have been sitting wrapped up in a drawer for at least 5 years, and they're cold. They're not, conditioned, and you can't cut them up and redo them and condition them. You've got to wake them up slowly so they do not crack. You need the clay on the inside of the cane to move at the same rate as the outside of the cane, or it's going to crack on the inside. So it's a really slow process until they get woke up enough to where you can take cane benders or whatever and get it moving a little bit quicker. But it's still, you need to handle it gently and slowly so you'll have your cane to work with all the way through. This one started out as a long rectangle, and I reduced it, changed its shape into a triangle, and then I took the triangle, cut that in half once I got that cane and warmed up, moving equally, and sliced. I sliced it in half, put the 2 triangles together, matched them up going down the sides here, and then changed the shape from the triangle back to a rectangle. And you can do that easily and change the shapes into what you need. Setting a triangle that's half the size that you need, and knowing you need 2 slices to do that, if I'd have left it in a triangle shape, what would I do with these spaces right here? Now I could put a solid color of clay there and add like a triangle here and a triangle here, and have something in the center where you have your points coming together. That's a possibility, but that's not what I wanted to do with this one. Also, I took my scraps that I had left over and I just squished them together a little bit. I did not run them through the pasta machine and make them a solid color. I just left them like this, and I'm going to slice this little cane up now, or really a scrap cane if there ever was one, and put it on the lid. And when I do my bottles like this, because I've done several, I like to put an edging on them going around it in either a matching color or a different color or something. And most of the time I use one of my edging texture sheets that I have and put texture on them. So I do that going along the side of the lid also. So the side of the lid will match the edging going down the sides of this jar. I like this jar real well. They turn out really cute, and so I like those real well. So let me get this cane sliced into 8 pieces, and I'll come back and we'll put it on the bottle. Okay, I sliced up my cane, and I'm going to show you how thin these are. Always go through and pick up everything with your blade. That's how thin these are. I mean, this is thinner, or as thin as my paper was. And it's even all the way down, and I can't say enough about the Lucy Clay Slicer. It's a little bit on the expensive side, but my goodness, it's paid for itself I don't know how many times. Okay, how many slices did I get? I went on and sliced up all of that cane just to see, out of that 1.25 inch of cane, usable cane, because part of it had distorted during the reducing process, and some of it was not usable, like right here. The design had gone over the top, and I didn't have my white band of clay up there or on this side as much. And this side had sunk into the center, which canes do that. That's why the cane caps from Tiny Pandora are especially helpful. You put the cane cap on each end of your cane as you're reducing it, and it doesn't distort and suck into the ends, so you have less waste. So I have 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9, 10, 11 good slices, and if I needed them, I could get or make another slice. If I needed 12, I could get it out of these 2 pieces, but I don't need 12, I only need 8. So then I took my scraps that I had left that I showed you and added a couple to it as I was slicing this, and just took my little roller and rolled it out a little bit gently, and then put my lid on top because I didn't want to go in and dig out my circle cutters. And I used the top, I laid the top right on top of the cane and cut around it with my X-Acto knife. And I'm just going to go back through with a rubber tip tool and press my sides up and make them smooth as possible. And another tool I have over here that does this really well is Christy Friesen's tools. If you don't have, especially her 3 sculpting tools, you need to get them. They're stainless steel. They're going to last a lifetime. They can go in your will to your children and grandchildren. That's how long they're going to last. And just smooth that out and get my edges done and smooth. And let's get the lid done first, because it's simple, and get it out of there so it'll set up some, because I'm going to add well-bond glue onto my metal before I add my clay in order to get it to stick to the metal. And it looks like I'm going to be taking the cap off and brushing it on, because I can't get the glue out of the bottle, which is a glue thing, right? I just use my finger, because you don't want that much and you don't need that much. Just going to spread a little layer on with my finger. And well-bond glue is bakeable. It's a PVA glue, but it holds extremely well. I use it on wood and metal and glass and anything that I need that on. Okay, which side was I going to use? I started out, that was the side that was turned facing me when I cut it out. And then I turned it over and I thought, oh, that's got some different scrolly work there. I think I like that side a little bit better. So I'm going to lay this right on top. And I'm just going to press it down and work it out to the edge of the circle on top. And then I'm going to set it aside and let it dry, because I'm going to cut out an edging and put around there. And if you got, I shouldn't have added that extra glue that was on my work surface, because now it's quite slippery. Same thing with liquid clay. If you add liquid clay onto that and you get too much and it gets slippery, it's hard to keep your clay where you want it to go. Okay, we're going to lay that over on the side and let it set. Now let's go back to our bottle. Okay. I'm going to roll this out just a little bit to get these edges to meet, and just secure them down. And to make sure there's no air bubbles underneath here. You don't want any air trapped underneath your clay. So it's along the bottom edge, it's on the sides. This I need to push out just a little bit, working from the center, pushing out to get it all the way over to that edge. And it doesn't matter on this one if it's directly on the edge, because on these curved edges right here of this bottle, I'm going to add that edging on there. I just have made so many, I like them like that. This one, I'm going to gently stretch it a little bit before I put it on, because it wasn't quite wide enough. And I want to make sure that this piece, to begin with, is on there straight, and that it lines up on this side with this one. And because I don't want to seal this, it's all clay, it doesn't need sealed. It can be sanded and buffed if you want a shiny surface on this. I'm not sure that I even want any surface on this that's shiny. But if I would use Deep Shine, which is a UV brush-on resin with Tiny Pandora. It's made for polymer clay. Oops, it will not yellow, as a lot of finishes will, like your polyurethane and varathane and other products are going to turn yellow over time. And even some resins turn yellow over time. So I'm really particular on what products I use. If they're not specifically made for polymer clay, I generally don't use them. I've been at this art stuff for over 60 years, and I learned a long time ago, use the products that's made for what you're doing to get the best results. Okay, so I've straightened out the sides. Let me get that little piece of extra clay off of there. I straightened out the sides going down here. I've straightened the tops up to where they match all the way around. Okay, I decided that I was going to go with a white trim. And I'm going to put a pink Inca Gold on my design. Once you put Inca Gold on raw clay and bake it, it's permanent. You don't have to seal it. So that was my decision of why I was using that. These strips were at one point together before I cut them apart. This is a Lisa Pavelka texture sheet. And this is 5 different designs for edges. And I think this one with the circles on it will look best with these circle type designs in this cane. So I have a piece of parchment paper out now. And a lot of clays do not like water. They interact with water and do not do well. FEMA is one of them that I'm aware of. So I take a little bit of cornstarch and put it on the layer of my clay as a release for my design. So let's cover that up so I don't spill it. I'm going to put my texture sheet down first. And I don't need the whole length of this to go from top to bottom. I may need it to go around the sides, but I don't need it to go top to bottom. I just need 4 of these strips. And I put my texture sheet down first. This clay's rolled out on a number 2 on my atlas. And I'm pressing my clay down into my texture sheet instead of pressing my texture sheet into my clay. This way I can tell that all parts of this texture sheet I picked up the design on the clay because it's rolled out thin enough and I'm pushing it down hard enough to where the design is transferring directly onto the clay all the way down the texture sheet. And that's the way I do all of my texture sheets. I put the clay on top of the texture sheet so I can tell how well the imprint is. So let's turn it over. We get an instant release. I want to make sure that my clay stays together and not comes off with the texture sheet. So I gently take that off. And I'm going to cut it. And I won't need the whole width of this design either. But I'm going to cut it down one side. Cut it down the other side. Like I said, I won't need that piece. Let me cut the end off straight here. And I don't want that edging showing. I just want the design on this one. There we go. So I'm going to hold the design up on my bottle. And I don't need to add anything there to hold it down because it's all raw clay to raw clay. And I don't want to mess up my design on my clay that I just put on there. I don't want to mess up my texture. So I'm gently going to push and make sure the edges are down. And again, I'm going to go around my edging at the bottom and cut it off where it needs to match up to the bottom. And make sure they're on there straight. And that's the edge for right now on my clay. Okay, let's set that down and let's do a couple of more since we need them. We have the edging on all four sides going down now. And we're going to put the same thing around the side of the lid, and I've already got it cut out. Before I forget, I want to show you something. I'm apples, and I have an apple stamp. And this is small enough concave in the center here that I put my signature in there. And I'm going to go over it with the Inca Gold. And you need to sign your work somehow, some way. Come up with a cane, or mine's easy. Apples are easy to find everywhere. But what I did want to do is I wanted to put a really thin piece of this right up here on the top. just to give that a little bit of an edge. So I want to do that. And I am going to take my liquid clay, because that's at the top where it's going to be handled a lot. And I just want a little bit of clay on there. I don't want to make it slippery, I just want to make it sticky. And I want to set this on the inside of this one. And it is level. I rolled all this out at the same thickness. Straighten it back out. So it's right there on the edge. All four of the top sides done, and we're ready to work on the lid. And it's going to take more than one to go around the lid, so I want to get that worked out before I go putting it actually on the lid. I want it to match up as much as possible, and this right here just may do it. I think it will. So I'm going to put some liquid clay around this lid. And again, not enough to be slippery, just enough to hold. And I'm going to bring it up to my raw clay, going around the sides of that. And get it down in the grooves, because we want this border to hold. And you could use Well Bond for this as well, if that's what you have out. I just had the liquid clay out and decided to use it. I want this edging to go from the top of the side of the clay, so the top of the edging will be level with the top of the clay. But I want it to cover this whole thing, so it may take, let's see, no, it looks like if I cut it all out evenly, it's going to work just fine. I didn't know if it was going to be wide enough or not. Okay, let's match. Let's see this end up. I'm just going to squish it in there. Go over it gently. I'm just going to roll the end of my X-Acto knife over it just a little bit, just to blend those seams in. Okay. Now, I need to cut off right here, a little bit wider. Okay. I'll press that down and make sure that it's stuck all the way around. And I see this little end right here needs to come off. That's setting up quite high, and I think it's the design more than anything. So let me squish that down just a little bit. Okay, we've got all of our trim on, going all the way around, and we have our lid on, and it looks really cute. Now, do we want to add trim on the bottom? Maybe so. I think it would look more finished. So let's just add the trim along the bottom. Want the trim sticking out. I don't want the cane sticking out under the trim, so we'll bevel that up a little bit. Ready to put Inca Gold on, and we've got our 4 little sides on, top and bottom. We've got the sides going up the sides. We've got the trim on the lid and the lid done. And so that was the scrap cane sitting in my drawers all these years. And I turned the big rectangle into a triangle, cut it in half, reduced it, cut it in half, made the 2 canes, put them together, and figured out how many slices of cane I needed to cover my bottle completely. So we'll get to the Inca Gold, and this will be ready to bake. just a little change in plan. This is Inca Gold that I had taken out of the original container and put in a smaller container to use on a project. It was just too bright of a pink. And I had thought my purple may be not a red fuchsia enough purple, but I'm going to use it because it will match back in here. When you're getting Inca Gold out of the container, don't use your hands. That will contaminate it. Use a toothpick or a craft stick or something. And just dig a little bit out. Put it on your finger. And I'm just going to rub it. Yeah, that color looks good. I'm just going to gently rub it on my edging. And the Inca Gold comes in, I don't know how many different beautiful colors. And they're all metallic looking. And they're a permanent surface treatment once they're baked. This will not come off, so therefore I will not need to seal it. And like we talked about a little bit earlier, I hadn't planned on sealing this one. Something else we may seal in this series, because I've got some other things I want to show you. And we may seal those. A little bit more on this one. And maybe a little bit more on this one. Just trying to get the edges of this trim without getting it onto the canes itself. Put some on my apple back here. And go around the trim on the lid. And I'm going to try to get it right up here so this isn't such a stark white up against that top of that lid. And it doesn't matter if I get it evenly, just enough to tone down that white a little bit and not get it on the cane. Maybe the same thing right here. This looks awfully white. It needs to have some purple on there. And that's just the very top of all the edging. Okay. And you can thin down your Inca Gold and paint with it. It's a really cool product. And one of those containers will last you a lifetime. So this is the bottle finished. And if I can hold it without dropping it, I'll zoom in on it and you can see everything up close. Here's the top. Then your sides and the edging. And it's finished. So I hope you enjoyed this one. Have fun creating and save your jars and bottles. So until the next one, blessings.